Welcome to the Electric Wire Podcast. We bring you news and views on the most pressing issues facing Wisconsin's electric industry, from policymakers, executives, and customer and environmental advocates. Bringing you these discussions, we are the Customers First Coalition. Here's your host, Executive Director Kristin Gilkes.
Hey, welcome to the Electric Wire. I'm your host, Kristin Gilkes, and I am joined today by a very special guest, Public Service Commission of Wisconsin Chairperson Strand. Welcome.
Hi, Kristin. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. We are so excited to have you on the podcast for the first time. You've been at the commission since 2023 and leading the commission since 2024. So I want to get an update from you. How are things going? What are you working on? And today we are talking all about the upcoming Mid-America Regulatory Conference that's coming up in Madison in June. So we want to hear all about your role in hosting this event.
Thank you. That's a great question. I think overall the things are going really well. I think there are a lot of things that have continued to be positive in terms of the team that we have at the PSC and how people work together and support each other, and how we're really trying to focus on not just highlighting all the challenges that our industry is facing, but also coming up with some solutions to help kind of solve or chip away at those problems. I'm still learning something new every day, still enjoying it. So I think those are kind of the constants. But in terms of how things have changed, I just think it's impossible to understate how different the regulatory environment and landscape and kind of everything that, I thought was on the horizon in 2023 and even 2024 has just changed so significantly. Especially in terms of political changes at the federal level have kind of taken us from some of the work that we were doing previous to that, whether it was, implementing federal programs or continuing to work towards some of those renewable energy transitions and goals, to specifically, the advent of these huge, large loads starting to be planned for to come online. I think for me, those were not things that I was necessarily foreseeing in the 2023 timeline specifically. But so if you take kind of all the extra or other important work that the commission knew about and was already starting to undertake in 2023 and 2024, all of that is still ongoing. A lot of generation and transmission construction, whether it's related to reliability needs, continuing to update and improve our aging infrastructure, planning for the future, all of those things. So all of that was underway and still ongoing. And then all of these new incredibly large challenges have been kind of added to that rather than taken away from anything else. So I think, the workload and just the volume and the complexity of the things that are happening at the commission on a daily basis is new. But we're continuing to work through it. And then I think on top of that, the amount of attention and scrutiny that is being paid to the energy and utility industry as a whole, to a regulatory body like the PSC specifically, to just these issues, I think it's important, and I understand why it's happening, and I think I welcome it. But at the same time, I think that is something else that our industry, our commission, et cetera, has never dealt with on this level before. So I would say good things are still continuing, but there are so many new things or new challenges that just, have continued to occur and kind of exacerbate everything else that we were doing.
Yes. And some of these challenges are industry-wide, right? There's other states facing the data center issue and the affordability issue, and just wanted to get your thoughts on how does a conference like MARC help the industry and the regulators address these issues together?
Yes, I think it's a great question, and I think it segues so well into the value of an organization like MARC and just like the value of the conference also specifically. And I think it also speaks really, really well to that fine line that we as planners are walking right now. So I will say overall, I think there's a ton of value in the MARC region and the MARC conference because it provides an opportunity for all of us regulators who really do, if you think about it, have these niche jobs that a lot of people don't necessarily understand. We can come together and we can talk about things and we can learn from each other. We can bounce ideas off of, for those of us who are in place in states where you can't talk about anything specific, it's safe for you to talk to other commissioners about how they're tackling issues. So I think the convening in the forum itself of the organization is super helpful. And I really appreciate all of those opportunities that MARC provides to us in that 14 state footprint. And then I think that the conference is kind of like the embodiment of that. Is like you get to come together once a year. It's those discussions of the issues that are so relevant to the 14 state footprint. But then there's also stakeholders involved, whether it's from industry, from advocacy groups, higher education, journalism, all of those things. And so I think there's value in learning from each other and talking to people who are doing the same thing that you're doing and figuring out, how are you guys navigating this, or sharing your experiences. But again, I think one of the challenges is there are so many similarities between the MARC states, but there are so many differences as well. And so it's making sure that these topics and discussions are broadly relevant to all the states. So not really like, oh, we're so unique, we're so special, we're doing it this way. But also at the same time, focusing on the things that unite you rather than the things that divide you. But also you can't be everything to everyone. So there has to be value. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot too is just trying not to rehash the same conversations that occur at every single conference that we go to. And then I think maybe most importantly, like I started with, is having it not just be a rehashing of the challenges, but also starting to build solutions into that dialogue and those discussions. So that's kind of the lens that we have been viewing all of this substantive topic planning through.
Love that. I'm excited to hear more about the agenda. You just mentioned MARC's footprint. I'm wondering if you could tell us which states exactly are included in MARC and who we can expect to be seeing at the conference.
Yes, definitely. So MARC is, it stands for the Mid-America Regulatory Conference, and it's kind of this swath of central states throughout the country. So I'll try to go from west to east. So it involves both Dakotas, so North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, and Indiana. And hopefully I did not leave anyone out.
That is impressive. That's so cool. Yeah. And there are, you could definitely tell just from hearing that list, there will be different issues for all of those states, but there's enough that connects us. So tell us more about what is going to be on the agenda and what everybody can look forward to hearing about at the MARC conference itself.
Yes. So you did a great job of already highlighting some of the things that I think are super broadly relevant to that footprint. Affordability obviously is a huge issue across the board. And I think it's another one of those reasons that that our industries and the scrutiny that's happening has come to the forefront. So we're going to have some good discussions on the affordability topic. Again, I think each state's jurisdiction is different, but I think water, broadband, engineering and construction, transmission. So there's one interesting thing about the MARC states is that some are in the MISO RTO footprint, some are in the SPP footprint, and then some are in multiple RTO jurisdictions. So there's that interesting aspect of this because they do some of the markets do things similarly and they also do things differently. I think issues that are large loads obviously are a huge focus of what all the commissions are dealing with right now. So that'll be a major aspect of the agenda, especially in terms of being able to really dig in during some breakout sessions about the various aspects of large loads and data centers. I think the communications aspect and what we're talking about with heightened scrutiny and more people being interested in what we're doing. I think that makes it incumbent on us as commissioners to talk about it in a way that people understand and to make ourselves available and be transparent in our processes and our decisions. And so communications will not only be a specific focus of the agenda, but also be woven into some of these other topics. And then from a high level, we really are attempting to take some of the best possible things about Madison and about Wisconsin as a state, and then make sure that those are highlighted in the agenda as well. So we have some really exciting tours that highlight those things that are also going to be reflected in the programming. So for example, I think the Wisconsin idea is something that is really unique to our state, but also has broad and positive impacts throughout the region. And so, a general session topic on that. We have a tour that incorporates some really cool aspects that people can go visit personally on campus and see kind of how that idea works in action in terms of research and development and coming up with solutions in a higher education setting that then benefit the entire state, whether that's on the nuclear front, fusion, sustainability, et cetera, innovation. Epic is another one of our tour stops that I'm super excited about. We were already planning to do this, and then we've been getting a lot of feedback about people wanting to go see it. So that's one of the tour stops, and there's kind of two. You can learn about the campus, or you can learn about all the amazing, innovative, renewable technologies that they have installed there. Agrivoltaics and solar, I think, is unique to parts of the Midwest. The Capitol, obviously, we think is like a really cool landmark that's nearby that a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing. So again, it's that fine line of wanting it to be really celebratory of where we are and all the things that make Madison, Wisconsin great, especially as it relates to our industries, but also making sure that however we're presenting any of these topics or ideas, it is relevant and helpful and beneficial to all of the attendees, not just the people from Wisconsin.
Yes, for sure. I know I'm excited for the agrivoltaics tour because that's the one where you get to see sheep grazing in the solar fields, right? So
Exactly.
yes,
Yes.
that is top of my list. But yes, all of the tours sound amazing. When people are considering whether or not to sign up for the conference, who should be looking at this? Is MARC for beginners? Is it for only experts, regulators, staff? Who all should be considering signing up?
That's a great question. So it's actually sounds cliche, but it is for everyone. So it's for commissioners, it's for staff, it's for people from the industry, from whether they're from a utility or from an advocacy group or another stakeholder with interest in the kind of like the regulatory process in the MARC footprint. So it really is, you don't have to have an in-depth level of understanding of everything, but you also, like, if you do, there's going to be something there for you as well. So I think it's a variety, it's a broad attendee base. I think the discussions and the interactions that you can have, like, not only planned through the agenda, but also through whether it's the social events or through some of the other extracurriculars that we have planned. It's really what you make of it, but there is something, it's broad.
Okay, so how do you see MARC helping regulators get up to speed if they're just starting out?
So that's a great question. So I was lucky enough to attend my first MARC conference about, let's see, 5 months, 6 months after, no, probably 5 months after I started. And, again, still kind of drinking from the proverbial fire hose at that time. But I was just so relieved to be talking to people who did what we did in states that were facing similar situations to what we were facing. It felt kind of like this, like, brotherhood or like fellowship or camaraderie of people who understood what you were going through and who had a lot to offer to those conversations. So I think that there is a definite undercurrent of kind of education and knowledge building. And so, again, it can be from that broad base level, depending on how familiar you are or in depth you are with certain issues related to our industries, to continue to kind of build that knowledge and that base. And then I think it kind of broadens it based on that you're able to talk to people from other states or other perspectives on some of these issues. And then again, whether you're new or seasoned, you can continue to have in-depth conversations on some of those topics. So I think it works for kind of anyone, no matter where you are within the industry or within kind of your knowledge of the industry.
Love it. Okay, so there's obviously a relationship between state policies and state regulation. the regulators are implementing, rules set by the legislature as they regulate utilities. But we hear a lot about policy issues, even when we're talking about regulation. So how are you threading the needle between some of these like big state policy decisions and the regulators who are implementing those decisions?
That I love this question as well, because I think as someone like you who came from the legislature, I think that we think about this and have a really informed perspective on this because of the difference between kind of the legislative branch and then a regulatory commission. So, and that's another really good point. Thank you for bringing it up. I think this is another issue that is definitely relevant to all of the states within the MARC footprint. So what comes with public scrutiny, I think, could be said for legislative scrutiny or policymaker scrutiny as well. So I think that this is something that all the states are dealing with. I also want to point out that almost every state in the MARC footprint has a gubernatorial election on the ballot this November, which will obviously potentially change the course of things, because a lot of us, also, like Wisconsin, it's not just that we have a gubernatorial election on the ballot, it's that the incumbent is not running, right? So new governors. And I think that it's important to understand what other states can do with some of these things, because not only is it good to learn from them and to hear from them in terms of, what's policy, what's law, what's your process, how do those things intersect, but because of some of our states being in the same RTOs, we can also be affected, sometimes it's indirectly, by laws and policies in other states based on how that affects, let's say transmission planning or the types of resources that are available on the grid, because we are on a grid together with other states. So I think anytime there's this interstate relationship, it's important not only to understand and to learn about, the differences in those policies or laws or administrative rules or the regulatory construct and framework, but it's also important to know what's going on in other states, because it could directly impact your state. So I think that we're really going to try to work a lot of those discussions, especially like political uncertainty and changes in, how new governors or new legislatures can really make a lot of policy changes that impact regulatory commissions as well.
I think it's going to be a really exciting time to be in Madison, and hearing how the races are going in all these other states, what issues are coming up there. Just as people are coming into Madison for this event, first of all, just curious if you know how many people usually attend the MARC conference, how many people are coming into Madison for this, and for the visitors, what shouldn't they miss when they're here?
MARC was a relatively like mid-level, I think, attended event for a number of years. During COVID, they had to delay or shift. So 2023 was the first year that they were kind of back to normal, but they still had some residual impacts from COVID on attendance and on location. So I feel like 2024 is probably like a fair baseline to look at. 2024 broke all kinds of attendance records. They had over 500 people attend. It was in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So Minnesota did an amazing job of putting this on, and I think kind of set the bar for what MARC could be. And then last year in 2025, Indianapolis came through and smashed even that attendance record. So currently, those two conferences had about between 500 and 600 attendees both years. We obviously think that Madison is a huge draw. We would love to have as many people attend as possible. But we're not going to set ourselves up for failure, right? So we would love to have anywhere between 300 to 600 people. Registration is open. People are still registering, and we'll see how those numbers shake out. I think for some of the specific events, we've planned for, it's hard, you have to kind of pick a target and then kind of work back from that. So we've planned for, between 400 and 500, give or take, but it's pretty big. In terms of what you can't miss, I think Madison itself has so much to offer. So I really think it's up to us to make those things, to raise awareness of those things, and then to build in time for people to be able to enjoy them, right? So we're encouraging people to come early and stay late. The farmers market, I think on Saturday is like a can't miss if people come early. We have a lot of adjacent, so it's not MARC official, but pre and post conference programming, not only to draw people in, but to, again, provide an opportunity to really like dig in deep to some of these other issues with other commissioners and other staff. I think the food and restaurant scene in Madison just like is so amazing, so eclectic. I really, we're encouraging people to do those things. Recreational opportunities, whether it's, the lake, bike cycling, running paths. I think Commissioner Hawkins is going to try to put together some physical activities or recreational events for people to do together. We have the Mallards and FC Madison in terms of like minor sporting events. There's so many cultural and whether it's museums, there's so many different concert events that there's like 6 or 7 different venues just like right within walking distance from Monona Terrace. So again, I think it's really important for us to make sure that people are aware of these things and then give them time to like enjoy and explore.
I love it. In terms of can't miss places for me in Madison, I think people should go visit the Tornado Room. And we're going to make that easy because CFC is going to be hosting a Power Hour event at the top of the park on Monday, June 8th. And so we are hoping to get people over to that side of the square. Like, I know it seems so far away from everything over there, but I'm excited to get people over there, and we'll have a like lovely view of the Capitol for our Power Hour event. And yeah, just really looking forward to that. So yeah, I always think those venues that have like a view of the Capitol are just like so cool.
Yes.
So yeah, lots to see.
One of the conference hotels is actually, sorry to interrupt you, is the Inn on the Park is actually one of the conference hotels.
Oh,
so
good. Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully people will be familiar with that side of the square, to your point. But yes, I think the Capitol, then like how State Street bridges the Capitol and the UW-Madison campus. I really hope people can take advantage of that and everything that State Street has to offer. I know we've really been putting together some Madison videos and programming to share with, attendees ahead of time so that they can kind of see these things and start to think about what they want their itineraries to look like. I love Tornado Room. Absolutely. That's one of our featured recommendations for people to like grab food or drinks that while they're there. Yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome. Good. Okay. Well, this is great. So just to wrap things up, so when the conference ends, what is it that you hope the attendees will leave with? Information, feeling,
Yes.
When they're leaving Madison, what do you want them to take away?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, I want them to have had a great time. I think, again, it's like people are taking busy times out of their schedules to travel most likely and to come to Madison. And I hope they have a great time. I hope they have a chance to enjoy some of these things that Madison has to offer. It really is a cool city. And I hope that people can do that. I also want them on the programming side to, feel like attending the conference was worthwhile and relevant, while also being kind of unique and interesting, right? It's like, yes, I learned a lot, but I also like heard things that I, hadn't thought of before kind of thing. Because I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. And then overall, I want them to love it so much that they want to come back. I think it's impossible to see everything in those few days. So hopefully they can make a return trip to Madison or to Wisconsin as a whole.
Agreed. And I am going to make sure that we put a link to the registration in our show notes. And early bird registration ends, I think it's May 14th. And so if people are listening before this, get your early bird registration in, but it'll stay open for longer, I think into June. So you can still register with plenty of time.
Yes, exactly. I think the MARC website, which you'll feature with the registration link, is kind of the one-stop shop for where all of this conference information is available in terms of the hotel blocks, agenda, tours. Tours are open, so people can register for those once they get registered for the conference. We have a bunch of Madison information available there now, how to travel, where to go, and then we'll continue to update that. And then we'll also have all kinds of information available to attendees once we get closer to the conference and then when they arrive.
Awesome. really looking forward to it. Okay, well, since we have you on the podcast, I have to ask, we have one last question that we ask all of our guests, and it is, if you had all the power in the industry, what would you do with it?
There's so many things that I would do. I think this relates to, I think the MARC planning process as well. I would love to be able to have more time as a commission, as a chairperson, as a member of MARC, et cetera, to do more on this like communications front in terms of energy literacy. I think that really starting to build that foundational knowledge among, frankly, like elementary school kids about, how they can be an active user rather than a passive taker, whether it's electricity, water, any of those things, to understand, the role that they have to play in that, and then why we do some of the things that we do. I think raising energy literacy can just help make us all much more informed, responsible citizens. And it's something that I wish that I had even more time to do in this job, because I think it's so important. And I do think it can help, currently with some of the issues that we're facing regarding public scrutiny, political scrutiny, being able to talk about in clear, plain language that people understand about what we're doing and why it's important to them.
Great answer. Thank you. I love it. I wholeheartedly agree. And it is our main goal here with the Electric Wire podcast to help do just that. But there's so much more work to be done. And I think your voice on this issue is super important. So we just really appreciate all you do, and we appreciate you for being here. And we will see you at MARC 2026, June 7th through 10th in Madison.
Yes, thank you, CFC and Electric Wire. Kristin, you do such a great job with this, and we appreciate you highlighting MARC. We hope everyone can register and attend, and we look forward to it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Please support our work. You can subscribe to the Electric Wire podcast if you haven't already, and you can follow us on Twitter at The Electric Wire. Thanks also to the members of the Customers First Coalition for supporting this podcast. Our members are Dairyland Power Cooperative, Madison Gas and Electric, the Municipal Electric Utilities of Wisconsin, WPPI Energy, the Citizens Utility Board, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 2150, and the Wisconsin Electric Cooperatives Association. Thanks again for listening. We'll have a new episode next month.